Right, what is up YouTube? Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today is leg day, the hardest, most physically demanding, mentally demanding session of the week is going down, which is a long one. I'm usually in the gym on this one because there's so many compound exercises involved in this for probably about 3 hours, which when you think I'm getting in there, starting out with biceps I can kind of breeze through because it's single arm, don't need ridiculous rest times in between each one. Can maybe get that done in just under 20 minutes, 3 sets on each arm and biceps there. Then the adult two can breeze through that in. It's the thing is, because it's so many reps, the actual set will take like 3 minutes or so. Only 2 warm-ups leading up to it, so I can get that done in sub 10 minutes. Then after that, moving on to stiff legs. These do tend to take a little bit because I need to hit my warm-up sets, and I do leave a good amount of rest time in between those sets because they're obviously so physically demanding that in order for me to fully give them my all without just gassing out, without being out of breath starting the set, I need to be fully recovered, which could take well over 6 minutes in between each of those sets, at least that I'd say. So yeah, stiff legs, counting in my warm-up times and putting plates back afterwards. I'd say I spend at least a good 25 to 30 minutes on stiff legs. And then you can see leg curls, I'm already warm from stiff legs, so I only need like one warm-up set, and then I've got 2 working sets on there. You can get that done in just over 10 minutes maybe, so that's what we're on here. Maybe about just over an hour at this point. Then I've got 2 sets of hip press, but that's probably about 25 minutes total, counting in the warm-up sets, because obviously that's moving on to quads. I need to warm my quads up at that point. Then 2 sets on the pendulum, probably get that done in 20 minutes. Probably less with that actually. That's about maybe 40 minutes there on those 2. So now we're on just under 2 hours, maybe an hour 45. Then I've got 2 sets of glute drive. That's about a 15-minute job there. That takes on to about 2 hours. Then we've got 2 sets of calves, 2 sets of abs. So that's about 2.5 hours. Yeah, that sounds about right. Then you got factor in. I've got to like put plates back in between those. That can take a bit of time. Sometimes I might have a quick little catch up with someone in there just for a couple of minutes or so. I might need to go to the toilet a couple of times in there. There's many reasons why it can take a little bit longer. Sometimes you got to wait for a machine. If I wouldn't wait like 20 minutes. I train at a sound gym, so I can work in with most people. Most people are completely sound with it. If everyone's a bit weird at your gym, they don't like working with you, maybe switch gym. Genuinely, your progress matters more than the extra £5 it costs per month, to me it does at least. Then sometimes if I've got a bit of time, if the gym isn't closing up, I'll try and practice my posing for a little bit afterwards, which I could be in the posing room for maybe 10-15 minutes or so. So yeah, realistically it's probably about just under 3 hours sort of job usually. It's the biggest session of the week for sure, and it's also on the day where I'm the least busy, which is why it's on this day specifically. If you do have some more physically demanding sessions, definitely try and work them into your routine, like your weekly work routine, so that they're on days where maybe you're off work or you're just less busy in general. If you've got a really a stupidly busy day at work, for example, and you can only get into the gym for maybe an hour and a half, place like your least time-consuming session on that day, because you don't want to be trying to cram all your sets together and rush them. That'll just make for a shit workout. That's the session anyway. It's just a solo one today. Last did legs with, he came to the gym with me, did his own sort of session, and then he tagged in a little bit with legs, my mate Corrigan. And after that, now he's flew to Singapore. So yeah, 1 leg session with Seb, and he's decided to flee the country. Must be traumatic, clearly. Nah, I'm joking, he's in the Navy, so yeah, gets shipped around. But yeah, it's gonna be a good session. I'm gonna attempt 160 on stiff legs again, because last time I went for it. Didn't feel amazing, but I managed 4 solid reps. I'm just going to probably try and get 4 again, but make them better reps, because last week there was a bit too much hitching on there, which is not what I want. And then the rest of the stuff I'm just going to try and, same as usual really, just if I can get a little bit extra weight, maybe an extra rep, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, just make sure I absolutely goose my quads, hamstrings, and glutes and calves and abs and everything I'm training today. It's a big session, like I said. So yeah, I'll catch you in the gym. Adios. Alright, here we go, starting the session out with single arm preach curls on the Gym Loco machine as always. I'm sure that I've mentioned it before, but this is by far my favourite preach curl machine out of all the ones I've used so far. Reason being is the resistance starts to drop off as you get your bicep more contracted, which is kind of like the opposite of most other pre-kill machines I've used, like the ham strength one, or I mean I've used some other decent ones like the Live Fitness one, which aren't too hard in the lockout sort of position, but most of them are just brutal, and you get to the point where you can get more reps out at the bottom, like partials, but you just cannot lock them out, which is not really ideal. Whereas on this, you can really grind out the last reps, as you'll be able to see. But I did 3 sets total on here, so 3 sets each arm. I've only showed 1 set because I didn't film the others very well. I'm like half in, half out of the frame. I do definitely enjoy hitting biceps to start my lower sessions, just because they are a small muscle and you don't necessarily need too much of your core bracing. And I do find that based on the size of my pre-workout meal, which is pretty big, it does take quite a lot of time for that to digest. So this means by starting out with a smaller muscle, which doesn't require me to brace my core as much, that meal can kind of still digest while I'm doing this exercise, which gives me a bit more time before I move into the exercises where I do need to brace my core, like let's say stiff legs for example, or a squat press. If my pre-workout meal hadn't fully digested by the time I get onto those, I'd probably be spewing up, which is not ideal. And same sort of thing with the adductor, that kind of doesn't require too much of a core brace. I mean, you do need to brace against like the back pad, but it's not the same as a stiff leg. But yeah, 1 set on the adductor here, high repper. I wanted 30 plus, but I think I only got like 25 or something. I need to count this back and double check. But yeah, not ideal. It's mainly due to my shorts like rubbing against the seat, which made it really uncomfortable, and it was pretty off-putting. I still obviously took it to failure and stuff, but when things like that, when your like skin's like rubbing, it feels like it's chafing. It's not very nice when you do the movement. But after that, moving on to stiff legs as usual. I'm showing my warm-up sets on these because it's important that you warm up correctly in order to get the very most output out of your top set. I usually do maybe 6 to 8 reps or so with 1 plate, and then I'll put another plate on, do maybe 4 or 5 reps with 2 plates, and then I'll go up to 3 plates, hit a single, and then I will move into my top set, which today will be 160 kilos. And of course, you've always got to whip the bar with your straps before you start. It's a ritual at this point for me. You've of course got to show the bar who's boss. But the reason that I warm up this way, by pyramiding the weight up and the reps down, as opposed to just, let's say, doing 4 sets of 10 with like 1 set with 60, 1 set with 100, and then trying to do like maybe 6 reps or so with 140 before I move into 160. After doing the first 2 sets with 60 and 100, the muscles that are going to be worked throughout the top set, like my erectors, glutes and hamstrings, they're already warm. So if I was to do a load of reps with 140 before I move on to 160, I'm just going to be unnecessarily fatiguing myself prior to the top set, which would mean that I would get less reps out of the top set, which is not what I want, because that is the set where I'm going to be accruing the effective reps as I approach failure. And I want to get those reps with the most load that I can, and by doing loads of unnecessary warm-ups prior to that, I would be fatiguing myself and I wouldn't get those reps, which would not be what I want. But I do want to make sure that my nervous system and mindset, in a sense, is still primed, ready to hit that 160. So I do like to take just 1 rep with 140, just so that I'm mentally in the game and that my whole nervous system is ready to actually pull some weight that is heavy for me. If you do want to learn more about the whole topic of warm-ups and this sort of just approach to training in general, definitely look up Jordan Peters. Anyone who's into bodybuilding will already know who he is. I'm 100% certain of that. But if you're not, then Jordan Peters is the man. But back on the topic of stiff legs, top set with 160. Felt better than it did last week. There was definitely a little bit less hitching, but I do still want that to be a bit smoother. So I'll be sticking with this weight for a good couple of weeks. Get it much tidier. Maybe get a rep up, then possibly increasing the weight again going forward. And then move on to the back off with 140. Up a rep and a rep and a quarter basically from last week, and it felt a lot better, felt a lot smoother. So happy with how that went. I think that's primarily due to me sort of not chilling out, but definitely giving myself enough rest time in between those 2 sets. I probably took at least like 6-7 minutes there. And that's something that you shouldn't be afraid of doing. If you need to take more rest time, especially in between sets on big compound movements, take the rest time. Your training shouldn't be a race to get it done as fast as possible. It should be to get it done as effectively as possible and to progress the movements that you're doing within that session. And if that means that you need to take longer rest times to give those sets your all without you being gassed out prior to going into them, then just take the longer rest times. It's worth it, it'll benefit your training. It may just mean that you need to plan your days a little bit more effectively so that you give yourself enough time to train. But if you are dead serious about making progress, then that shouldn't be an issue for you. And then when it comes to the smaller movements, you still want to give yourself enough rest time, but because you're only using, let's say, one muscle group, such as like I was doing then on the seated leg curl, you won't necessarily need as much rest time because from a cardiovascular perspective, you won't be as gassed out, and the oxygen debt that you'll have accumulated from the set necessarily won't be as big as it will have been had you done a larger compound movement involving more than one muscle group, which means it won't take you as long to pay off in between your sets. Now, as you can see here, I've had a bit of a disaster on the hip press. My knee has just decided to give up on me on that last rep, which is certainly not ideal, but it's something that I have been dealing with this year, I guess. In the past, let's say maybe 10 weeks or, about 10 weeks or so, it's been a lot better, and that's mainly due to me slowing down my eccentrics and implementing pauses. But today, I definitely didn't get my bracing right. I sort of tried to brace too early maybe. Usually what I tend to do is just get into the hip press, unrack the weight, sort of start the eccentric portion of the rep, and then brace and just press from wherever I'm braced. Whereas I think I tried to over brace before I'd even unrack the weight and press from there, which I have done in the past and it's never felt as good. But when you are getting very psyched up for your sets, it's quite hard to remember all these little things. So sometimes things don't go to plan. But what I decided to do instead was take some weight off, just do 3 plates. I thought I'd maybe get 6 reps or so, and I ended up getting like 16. So I'm going to keep that noted as a baseline. So if my knees are playing up on my heavier sets, what I'll do is I'll just take those high rep sets and just try and apply the same principles of progressive overload to those and chase down sets of 20 plus with 3 plates. Because end of the day, it's still progression, it's just in a higher rep range. Which, if that's what it takes, because my knees aren't, playing ball on some days, is what it is. I'll still take the progression regardless, because progress is everything in this sense. As long as you're placing new levels of stress on the muscle that is not previously used to, that will still send the stimulus in order for it to grow. Moving on to the rest of the session, 2 sets of glute drive. Sorry, I haven't even covered the pendulum. Pendulum felt okay. Knees didn't feel as bad on there, but the back off still didn't feel perfect. But regardless, they were still productive. Then moving on to the glute drive, 2 sets on here, went pretty well. And then as usual, just moved on to calves and then onto abs. So yeah, I'll put some music over those so I don't get copyright striked again, which I've already got one, which is not ideal because I think if you get 3, they take your channel down, which don't want that. I've only started doing it for maybe like 2 months. How long have I been posting now? Maybe like 2 months or so. Yeah, that'd be pretty rough. I think you get if you get 3 copyright strikes in 90 days, that's when they would unfortunately shut you down. So yeah, I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'll put a quick little non-copyright tune on. It's probably not going to be very good, but then I'll catch you after my session. Enjoy. YouTube. As you can see, we have just wrapped up legs, and I've commentated the session, so you've probably got a rough idea of how I feel about the whole session. But yeah, to sum it up, that was not to plan at all, really. Well, I say that, a good chunk of it went really well. A good chunk of it did not go how I wanted it to at all. So let's talk about it. Started out, biceps went really well, up a rep on each set, and it felt way better. So that's a win. Now onto the adductor. Now the thing is, I've trained in shorts, right? And this is going to sound so daft to people, but I mean, the thing is, I haven't trained in shorts for so long now. It's probably been like over 6 months since I've done at least a leg session in a pair of shorts. And I don't know what it is. When I train legs in shorts, nothing feels good. My joints just don't feel good. Everything feels a bit cold. It just does not feel good at all. Because I haven't trained in shorts for so long, I've kind of forgotten that feeling. So I'm weighing it in today. And on the adductor, last week I got 31 reps. So I'm only like 32, 33 today. But on like, I think on like, after like the 17th rep or something like that, I can't remember after exactly how many reps, but I just noticed like the skin on the back of my thigh was just rubbing against the seat almost. And obviously because I pull myself into the seat so I can brace properly. And when I've got pants on, it doesn't seem to really like affect anything, because the pants sort of just slide on the seat. But when I've got shorts, I feel like the shorts just get caught against the seat and it just rubs. And that's so uncomfortable and like so off-putting when I'm trying to focus on my reps. But I pushed through it regardless. I think after like the 26th rep, I just failed. I don't know what it was. I don't know if my knees weren't in the same position on the pads that they normally are. Next session, I'm just wearing pants. And this sounds like the most daft reason ever as to why a session doesn't go to plan. But it genuinely does affect the way I set up on things. Anyways, after that, moved on to stiff legs. Now stiff legs, I actually feel pretty sound in shorts. In fact, if anything, they probably feel better. So what I'm probably going to do going forward is just have a pair of shorts underneath my pants and just take my pants off for the stiff legs and then put my pants back on after, which seems like a lot of admin, but it's if I can feel better on the exercise that I'm doing because I'm wearing pants or wearing shorts and whatnot, I'm just going to start doing it. I'm going to do it because every little helps. But yeah, first set on stiff legs, 160. I was actually happy with how it moved. It seemed like it was, I wouldn't say I got as psyched up as I did for it last week, and I took a little bit longer rest time, so I wasn't completely like gassed going into it compared to last week. It's still a little bit too much hitching on the 4th rep for my liking, so that will need to get worked on, but as the weeks go on, I can get better at it. It already felt better this week. Like the 160 does feel, it feels heavy for me, like it is heavy weight for me. I know tons of people are way stronger than that on stiff legs. My mate Jacob Tipper is fucking stupidly strong on stiff legs. He's stiff legs like 310 kilos or something, which is literally nearly double what I'm doing. But end of the day, strength is relative to the person. It's how close to failure you take in that movement, which is what provides the stimulus. But yeah, the goal is to just get this 160 better. Work up towards a 4-plate stiff leg. That's what I want eventually. It seems like a long way away, given the rate of progress is pretty slow on these at the moment, but I know I'll get there eventually. It's just going to take a lot of time and practice. I have done 4-plate stiff legs before, but it was shocking. I was getting like sets of 2 with them, and I had a thick belt on, which basically did all the work, and my form was horrendous. So I know that my body's done it before. I don't want to get back to doing it at a poor standard. I want to be doing it with the execution that I'm doing these now. And I know if I am able to do 180 with good execution, my back will be significantly better than how it was when I was doing 180 with shit execution. So yeah, stiff legs went okay. The back off went up like a rep, and I was just that far off fully locking out the 7th rep on the back off set, which I'm happy with because last time I got like 5.5. After that, moved on to the seated ham curl. I'm going to invest on a seat belt for these because I've seen Josh Campbell do it and it looks way more stable. And I do notice on this exercise when it does get hard, my hips do want to slightly pull off the pad. My hips do want to slide a bit forward when it does get hard on that. So I'm going to invest in that. I think like 20 quid. So definitely a good purchase for me, given the fact that I want my hamstrings to grow. I think I'll probably use that on my leg extensions as well, or maybe even some leg presses just to really keep myself braced and locked in. But yeah, after that, moved on to the hip press, and this is where things went to absolute shit. What I've found is my quad compound movements over the past 6-7 weeks or so, 6-7 weeks or so, have gone way better than they were previously. Previously, I was dealing with loads of really bad knee pain because I was properly bouncing out the hole, whereas now I've been pausing them all and taking a really slow eccentric. But the last 2 sessions have been very hit or miss when it comes to them. I've been still controlling the eccentric very well, but I've not found that groove in terms of my bracing, which is infuriating because that then just skews the rest of the set. And I noticed today, after like 2 reps on the first set, my left knee just went. And I think that's partially due to my bracing not being 100% spot on. But it's also due to me trying to keep my knees so in line with my toes. But I think I've actually gone the other way, because I've previously been in the bad habit of having my knees basically cave in as the reps get hard, whereas what I want is my knees to travel basically directly in line with my toes. But I think they've been actually going further out, and that's been placing a bit of tension on my knee, which I don't want, obviously. I'm going to focus on that next session, hopefully that goes better, but not happy really, not happy at all with how that went. So the back off, I thought it might have just been a fluke with the top set. I put the same weight that I got last time on the back off, and that went absolutely terrible. I got like a rep, and then my knees just went, which is infuriating. But that was 3 plates and a 15 each side. So then I went down to 3 plates on its own. I was like, right, I'll just take a high rep set. I thought maybe, given the fact I got 1 rep with 3 plates and a 15 and some change, some tiny little plates, I got like 1 rep with that. I thought, right, I'll probably get maybe like 6 reps with 3 plates, because clearly something's just up with my knee. But I got 16 reps with 3 plates. If you work it out, like I should be getting maybe like 8 with the 3 plates and 15, but I got 1 because my knee is so weird. Going forward, what I might do is, if my knees aren't feeling 100% after 1 set, especially if they feel pretty bad on the warm-ups, I'll start with the high rep set with a lower weight, just so I can 100% have my brace, because I find it's so much easier to brace with lighter weight. It's easier to just get in a groove, and I feel like once you've been in that groove for 1 set, it's not too difficult to get into it for the next set. So that's probably what I'll do going forward. Even if I get some less reps with the heavier set, if I'm in a better groove, I'll probably get more reps. My knees just won't give up on me after the first rep. So yeah, that's what I'll do going forward. After that, moved on to the pendulum. Top set, got the same weight as I did last week. It moved better. I should have gone for the 6th, but after how those 2 sets moved on the hip press, I think my head was just a bit all over the place at this point. Confidence, very like shot really. Very cautious of my knees and stuff. I just racked it. The benefit of hindsight, should have gone for it. Probably would have had it given the speed of the other reps, but I do find with the pendulum as well, it does just hit you like a brick. Then the back off didn't go to plan either. I didn't get as many reps as I wanted on there. After those sets on the hip press and the pendulum, I did not want to be in the gym at all. But did I get the rest of the session done to the absolute best of my ability? Yeah, of course I did. Because what would happen if I left the gym after those 2 exercises went pretty shit? I would have missed out on the glute drive going really well, calves going pretty well, and abs going pretty well. So that would have been progress left on the table there. Let's say your first exercise does not go how you want it to. Don't just write the session off there and then, because the rest of the session might be amazing. I mean, the first part of my session was actually really good. I mean, adults didn't go great. It was just mainly the quads that really threw my head off. But these things happen. Not every session's going to be perfect. What matters is you genuinely do just give it your all, because that compounds all the time. And this isn't even just about the gym. If after those sets of quads I just gave up, that's instilling in my brain that it's okay when things don't go well just to give up and, oh, I'll just try it next time. I'm not going to finish the job. I'm not going to get it done. That bleeds into other areas of your life. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If you just give up when something doesn't go exactly to plan, or when it gets hard, your life's going to start to slightly fall apart. At that point where things aren't going well, that's what actually tests your character as a person. If you were to give up there and then, you'll probably give up in any other area of your life. You know, things get hard at work, things get hard in your relationship, family issues, small minor setback, car breaks down, whatever the case is. If you give up in the gym, you'll probably feel completely fine giving up in all those other areas. Every decision compounds, and the decisions that you make in the gym and your thought process as to how you handle the small setbacks in your session, that will dictate how you handle other setbacks in your life. So you should practice making the decision that you know will benefit you the most in that moment, regardless of what your brain is telling you. Do what you need to do, and the more you do that, the more you make that right decision, the more clear that decision tends to become. The more that little voice in your head telling you to make the easy decision, the one that is going to be less difficult, the one that's not going to get you the results, the more that voice just starts to fade, and eventually you get to a point where you hear it less and less, and you only hear that rational voice of reason, which is actually the one that's aligned with you and the goals that you want to achieve. So practice making the right decisions. If there's an opportunity where things don't go to plan in the gym, make the decision that's in line with your goals, not how you feel in the immediate moment. And I promise you, days, weeks, months, years down the line, you will thank yourself. And yeah, you will physically benefit from that, but the best part is the mental benefits you'll get. You will genuinely feel mentally bulletproof, in the sense that setbacks like that just don't affect you. You can be slowed down by them, but you can't mentally tap out from them, because you've practiced not tapping out from them so many times that that's just second nature to you. And eventually that just becomes your identity. That becomes part of your thought process and just who you are as a person. That literally changes your character. You go from someone who gives up at the slightest inconvenience or the slightest setback to somebody who is mentally bulletproof. And the best part about that is that's not something that can be bought. That's not something that you can inherit. That's something that you have to forge in your own brain through just consistently making the right decision, not the easy decision, not the comfortable decision, the decision that you know will lead to you achieving your goals, regardless of how you feel in that moment or how you might feel immediately after. The right decision that will benefit you in the future. Anyways, enough of the motivational talk. If you found the video somewhat entertaining or beneficial, do us a solid, give us a like, and possibly consider subscribing. Alright, catch you in the next one. Adios.